Well, guys, I don't know if it was the fact that Chicago was having the Chicago Marathon this weekend or not, and maybe that pulled away a lot of extra police resources. We already know that Chicago is outgunned and undermanned when it comes to their police force. They're certainly underfunded by Mayor Brandon Johnson with the, of course, the previous assist from one Lori Lightfoot. But this weekend was a particularly bloody weekend. This shot count this weekend is unbelievably high. And honestly, as the year goes on, and Brandon Johnson in Chicago tried to brag about less shootings earlier in the year, and crime looks like there's less homicide. They were actually trying to come out and say that. Well, maybe the city is trying to play catch up. I don't know. The last couple of weeks have been really bad, and this week has been really bad. This weekend was really bad. So yesterday, this past weekend, that's the Chicago Marathon. Yesterday was your day to run. I guess it was your day to run for your life, maybe. Today's your day to brag. Wear that medal proudly wherever you go at Bank of America. Hashtag Chicago Marathoners. Well, I don't know if that took resources away or what it did, but 44 people were shot, including 19 from Friday through Saturday night were shot in Chicago. 2 people were killed. Who knows who's going to end up dying while they're laying in some hospital room. This is actually a little earlier than I normally do this video because this is probably not the final count. I can tell you that right now. Normally, the final count will roll out around noon or even later than that, maybe even tomorrow, because you'll have people that will, for lack of a better way of putting it, die as they're laying in a hospital room somewhere because they've had a cap popped in their ass. And I'm not trying to make light of it, but my goodness, this is 44 people. Now, look, the left is always talking about mass outrage around gun violence from the standpoint of, oh my goodness, it's the guns, not the criminals, that are shooting people, that are killing people, and they make a big deal every time there's a shooting somewhere, except in these liberal progressive cities. You don't make a big deal then. In fact, it's like the media purposely tries to ignore what is going on in Philadelphia, Chicago, Oakland, all these different places because it shines a particularly awful light on the Democratic leadership, and in this case, Brandon Johnson, in these urban cities. I mean, just stay out of the cities. Right now, with everything going on in Israel, stay out of the cities anyway. Yeah, I mean, we can say that too, on top of everything else. This is ABC 7. We got some Breitbart here, but it's ugly, folks. At least 44 people have been shot, 2 fatally, in gun violence across Chicago this weekend, police said. I wonder how many of the people shot were black. I'm willing to bet most of them. Where's Black Lives Matter at? I sometimes I forget to bring that up, but where is that at? Where's that organization at? Where's the 10,000 marching in the street? Hell, they're afraid to march in the street. Might get their ass shot off. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. These people don't care about black lives. They don't. 8 people were shot downtown early Sunday. Chicago police said EMS responded to a scene at 2:40 a.m. West Erie Street and North Orleans Street in River North and discovered 3 people who had been shot, Chicago fire officials said. 2 people were transported to a hospital in critical condition. A 43-year-old woman was taken to a hospital in critical condition. Chicago police later confirmed a total of 8 people were injured in the shooting. 5 additional victims were taken to hospitals. Initially reported in good condition, 2 of them were women. 23 to 27. 3 were men, 25, 27, 32. Wow. Just under an hour earlier, 2 people were critically wounded after an argument turned physical in Auburn Grisham home on the south side. Well, let's throw in a little domestic violence, it looks like, involving all of this. A man and a woman, 33 and 52, were arguing inside of a home. He pulled out a handgun. The argument turned physical. Chicago police said the woman was shot in the stomach, the abdomen. Gained control of the gun, shot the man in the chest and the back. Both were taken to Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn, where they were listed in critical condition. You notice how many were listed in critical condition? There's 2 dead right now. Like I said, I've got a feeling that number's going to be changing. That's just a gut feeling. A 30-year-old man was hit in the chest by gunfire, 700 block of East 133rd Place, shortly after 6 p.m., according to the police. He was taken to the hospital. Chicago police detained a person of interest for questioning, and the weapon was recovered at the scene. Area detectives are investigating. On Saturday, a woman was killed and a man was wounded. South Shore neighborhood. It's crazy. And I'm going to tell you, it's... you ever notice there's a lot of like collateral glaze wounds too? Where people aren't even involved in said violence and they just catch a stray? Look at this one. A third woman in this shooting, 61 years old, was shot in her leg, taken to the same hospital in good condition. That's where a 28-year-old was shot in her shoulder and her head. That's crazy. It was a group of 4, and they opened fire. 3 women and a man. What's going on? Are the women just... I guess the women are just as apt to pull out a gun and start shooting in Chicago as any man. A woman was shot in her ass, literally. Police, 24-year-old man, 28-year-old woman, were near the sidewalk when a vehicle pulled up, and at least one person inside opened fire. The man said he was shot in his thigh. The woman grazed in her buttocks. That would be the ass for anybody keeping score at home. The Chicago Fire Department said 2 CPD officers were transported to University of Chicago Medical Center in critical condition. A 3rd officer was taken to Stroger Hospital in critical condition. A 4th officer self-transported to a local hospital. Officers then found the vehicle involved in the shooting, and there was a crash that happened. Police said police took 4 offenders into custody, recovered 2 handguns. Charges pending. They'll probably turnstile them. They don't have any cash bail up there anymore. A man was fatally shot Friday, Washington Heights on the south side, 43-year-old, 10,200 block of South Carpenter Street. When someone fired shot, Chicago police said. He was shot in the head and chest, pronounced dead. Last weekend, 37 were shot. God, let me just do some quick math here, folks. 37, 44, 81 people in 2 weekends? And 7 dead. God almighty. Over here to Breitbart. This is crazy. This is crazy. 8 people were injured in one shooting that occurred around 8:30 a.m. Sunday near Blum Restaurant and Bar. ABC 7 pointed out the shooting only hours before the Chicago Marathon was set to begin. The wounded consisted of men and women, and 4 of the shooting victims were critical. Chicago Alderman Brendan Riley is pushing to have Blum Restaurant and Bar closed. He believes the establishment draws in people likely to be involved in shootings. He said these late-hour nightclubs are blight on River North. Many cater to gangbangers, drug dealers, and gun-toting patrons. Can you imagine being that bar owner and the bouncers there? How many more people need to get shot before the city steps up to the plate and starts shutting down these bad operators? Listen to this, folks. The Sun-Times observed that 455 people have been killed in Chicago January 1 through October 8th, 2023. 455 people. And your governor and your mayors have gotten rid of cash required bail. I mean, what could go wrong? That's been, 2 weeks maybe that's been going, maybe 3 weeks. It just so happens 81 shot over 2 weekends. 7 dead. You see how that works? Again, I don't know if resources were taken away because of that Chicago Marathon. And if you're those runners, how brave are you that I guess you figure you're running. If somebody starts opening fire, you got a head start. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's crazy. People keep voting for this up there. Keep voting for it. Go in. I want to get shot in the ass. Literally. Want to get shot in the ass. A lady shot in her butt. Yeah, sounds good to me. Let's check Brandon Johnson back in. Let's check him in. Let's tag him back in the next election. That sounds smart. Wow. Okay. Tell me what you think, Black and White Network supporters. God almighty. Here we are. Monday morning. Keep stacking bodies up like cords of wood. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.